So I do want to encourage you.
Part of
Please do feel free to make notes in the chat to us. Say hello. Yep, I see a number of folks are starting to say hello.
I think this is part of sheltering in place, right? Everyone's playing around with Zoom and having their own challenges. So,
and some folks are saying where they're from. We've got folks from Wisconsin and Rhode Island.
Yeah, I was going to share about that. If everyone would let us know, I was going to share about the temperature today. I'm in Florida, and it was about 82 degrees, and I thought I'd also share a little proud moment that I have, but I wanted you all, whoever's listening, to also share about what the temperature is you're at waiting to get started. My little proud 65. Moment is Kaylee, my youngest daughter. She got dressed today, and she's like, she put on a UV power shirt, like a UV sun protection shirt. And she's like, I'm going to use this to go for my walk. I was pretty impressed because I didn't think of that. We usually use that like when we're on the boat or, you know, outside all day or something like that. So I was like, wow, she's thinking. So good deal for her outside walk.
Right. So we're seeing some folks from New Jersey and Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Oregon's 67 degrees. So why don't we get started? Because we're already 5 minutes past 8.
Okay. Thank you all for coming today. We're very excited. I just want to double check. Kim, you have the control of the power. All right. Yay. I'm sorry, you guys. I feel very flustered, so we're going to keep going on. There we go. No, I was just going to say welcome to everyone. Today should be interesting. We're going to talk about challenging being sheltering in place and what challenges we all might be having, if we're having any, which I am. And so also we're going to talk about some tips and tools that might be helpful. So we also want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Home and Community, Positive Behavior Support, Parenting Special Needs Magazine. And I'm excited because we're live, even though it's got a little bit messed up on our Facebook page, but thanks for joining us. And our other sponsor is Partnership for People with Disabilities. And as I mentioned, or if I didn't mention, I'm Shantae. And our first, we have a bunch of panelists. Our first one is Mimi Hyneman, and I'm going to let them go around and introduce themselves. So let's get all rolling with Mimi.
Yes, and Shantae is the editor of Parenting Special Needs Magazine. I don't know if you mentioned that, Shantae.
I don't know who I am.
So I'm Mimi. I don't have a picture on the screen due to technical difficulties, but I'm the mother of 2 boys who left for college and are now back. So I thought I was an empty nester this year, and I'm no longer an empty nester. But I have been working in the field for about 30 years and have done a lot of work with families. And let's go on to Molly.
Hi, everybody. I'm Molly Dillinger Ray from the Partnership for People with Disabilities at Virginia Commonwealth University. I am the parent of 2 kids that are now adults. One is 30 and one is 28. And I am missing sheltering at home with them. I know it's a struggle. I miss seeing them. So I'm in a little bit of a different situation than most people, but I'm happy to be here. And we're going to move on to Flip.
Hi, and good evening, everyone. I am Flip Gray from the Partnership for People with Disabilities at Virginia Commonwealth University, along with Molly. I am the mom of 2 daughters. One is 12 and one is 16, and my challenge is keeping them entertained. And we're going to move on.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Flip. So, hi, everyone. I'm Kimberly Breen. I'm sitting here in Chicago where it's right now 37 degrees. So I'm jealous of all those warmer temperatures I heard. And I am sheltering in place here with my husband and my son who has autism and also a good dose of anxiety that we all work through. So we're going to talk a little bit today about how to use tips and tricks for all kinds of youth and adults regardless of what their challenges were pre-pandemic and now. And I've also been really grateful to work in the field of positive behavior supports for about 22 years. So you see who you're going to be hearing from with us today. You'll see Shantae and I on the screen kind of as your co-hosts. And then Molly and Flip are going to be the ones typing with you in the chat box. So please, right now, all throughout this session, please share comments, questions in the chat box. Let us know how you're doing. Share questions, comments. We're going to make this as interactive as possible. And so this is the agenda we'll be covering for our brief 1 hour in total together. There's about 50 minutes left. And so we'd love it right now if you would start writing into the chat some of the challenges that you're facing right now during shelter in place, the things that maybe positive behavior support strategies could help you with. And then Mimi's going to help take us through some tips and tools for how to thrive during shelter in place by using really the science of behavior or positive behavior supports. And then we'll end by specifically spending some time again with all of you in the chat. And so Molly and Flip will be your voice. They will voice out some of the things you're writing in the chat. And that will allow Mimi and myself and Shantae and all of us here to be able to verbally respond to your comments or questions. And we'll end on a few resources, including how you can find some of us and some of this work moving forward. So please, I see the chat box lighting up. Please find that chat link on your computer and go ahead and start letting us know what are some of the challenges that you're dealing with right now. You might be homeschooling. You might have children and adults. You might have many different ages all in the home all together. And we're all really excited that there are some things that can help. Mimi's going to keep it really simple and give us some tips that we can apply to almost any kind of setting. Molly and Flip, you want to give any voice to anything that you're seeing coming into the chat yet?
Yeah, we've got a lot of good things coming in. And also, if you are joining us on Facebook Live, we also have people monitoring the chat there. So if you're not joining us on the webinar and you type in something to Facebook, Sarah is going to help us with that. Well, we've got a lot of people with kids are throwing tantrums and being defiant anytime they're told no. We have some moms that are struggling to sleep because she's got 3 younger boys and they wake up really early and ask for the tablet. And a lot of amplification of that.
We also got a comment about not having enough time for self-care, where
Right.
you're so caught up in taking care of your kids, working
Right.
from home,
No escape.
and homeschooling
And homeschooling. And sometimes working.
at the same time.
Yes.
Siblings
Right.
don't get along together all the time. And moms and dads are trying to work and always having to break up sibling fights.
So are we going to start addressing any of those, or are we going to go?
We just wanted to give folks time to share a little bit, and then we'll move into the rest.
Yeah.
Sensory defensive.
Yeah, one mom's very concerned if her daughter ever needs to wear a mask and she doesn't like giving her face, that's going to be a problem.
Wow.
Wow, that's a challenge.
Good point.
I think it's a challenge for me
So
to wear
right
those
now-
masks.
Yeah,
Right,
it fogs up
I
my
know.
glasses.
It fogs up my glasses. I can't breathe. I'm like, I can't think straight when it's on my face. I'm sorry, but it's like I go
Yeah.
to buy something. I'm like, it just.
Sarah, we were not
So we're
able.
seeing other people agreeing.
Yeah, and Sarah, we were not able to get it to go live to our Facebook page, the Home and Community. We're going to have to forward it from Parenting Special Needs, so it'll come after the fact.
All right.
Okay. So let's move forward because it's slowing down a bit, but I hope you will continue to put ideas in because I'm going to give you kind of the broad view, but we appreciate your input so far. And please, I don't know that we'll have all the answers to wearing a mask, but we can definitely talk about that at the end. So we'll work through the sheltering in place issues and then we'll see where we can go. So I'm going to just give you a quick overview of positive behavior support as an approach. positive behavior support is a collaborative process. So it involves bringing the people in your life together to come up with positive solutions. And it's focused on improving lives. It's based in the principles of applied behavior analysis. Our emphasis is in 3 areas. One is being proactive, not waiting for problems to occur, but getting out in front of issues by rearranging the environment, creating expectations, making sure that kids' environments are set up for positive behavior. The second thing is that we focus on teaching skills, and really wearing a mask is a skill. And so thinking about how you would go about teaching your child to tolerate something that they're not accustomed to. So teaching either communication skills in order for the kids to get their needs met, or teaching kids the ability to participate or tolerate with circumstances that are hard. And then finally, positive behavior support is functional. And that means that we focus on reinforcing positive behavior and not falling into the trap of giving in to problem behavior. And so those are the core features of positive behavior support. So every time we do these chats, we're going to go back to those 3 components of positive behavior support, and you'll see them woven through the strategies we talked about. So tonight, our sheltering strategies, we put our heads together with the principles of positive behavior support and said, what are some things that might help during this time? So I'm going to go through each of these, but one is structuring your time and space. One is creating learning opportunities. And the third one is finding new forms of fun. So as I go through each of these areas, what I would love is for you to put some of your strategies in and maybe help each other out with some of those challenges you're facing with homeschooling and disrupted routines and trying to work and keeping your kids entertained and dealing with meltdowns. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So here's the first tip we have, and that's, you're accustomed maybe to your kids going to school and having that 6 or 7 hours that are structured by someone else. And now you're in a position where you've got to structure that time, not only for them, but for you as well. So thinking about how you're structuring the time. So a daily or weekly agenda so that kids have something to look forward to. They know when things are coming. You know when things are coming is really helpful. And for kids with disabilities, making it as visual as possible is really helpful. So adding pictures to your schedule. Having a list of tasks or projects. I know it makes me feel better being stuck at home if I get something done. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of people are doing those kinds of, let's knock out a few things so that we feel like we've accomplished something. And this can involve involving your kids. I had my son shred documents today for an hour and a half, and that was our project. Another tip is what we call pre-macking your schedule, and it's also called Grandma's Law. But basically what it means is making sure that if your kids have to do something they don't want to do, like doing their schoolwork or doing those chores, that it's always followed by something that they do love to do. And so that we're alternating fun stuff they don't want with stuff they do want. The fourth strategy is thinking about how our physical organization. I'm sorry, Deborah. Yeah, I am. For some reason, my camera's not working. Only Kim's and Shantae are allowed to be videoed today. So it feels awkward to me too. But thinking about how we organize our environment to create space, this might be having a homework area or having a craft area. So setting up space in a way that prompts positive behavior. And then the final strategy is just making sure everyone has some space so that they have a physical place to be that's comfortable because we're tight in these quarters together and we may not be accustomed to it. I know I wasn't because my kid's girlfriend sheltering a lot with us as well. So given those strategies for structuring time and space. What are some things that you are all doing? And our panelists can share and others can share as well. So what are some of the things that are working for you?
One of the things, Mimi, that made me think of what one of our participants said in the chat, and I'll just share briefly, and then we'll start to get ideas. So those of you who are out there listening, please type in the chat your ideas and strategies. But, so one thing that I'll say two things related to what someone wrote in the chat is around tablet time. And so we flipped some things to be different from how they used to be. So we now have my son, who also loves being on his iPad a lot. We have him be on his iPad when it's convenient for us for him to be on his iPad. So for example, in those early morning hours when he's, wants to be doing that and we need to be sleeping still or doing other things, we make that iPad time, but then we take away that iPad time from another time later in the day when we are up and around with him. So for some of you, I don't know if that is a possibility to flip when you would normally let the child be on the tablet, so that you can kind of, what would have been normal during regular school hours, you wouldn't have done that first thing in the morning, but maybe now to try to flip around those times might work a little bit. And then kind of related to self-care, I've read some articles that say this is okay, so I hope it's okay for me to share this. We are also being a little more lax on some things than we were before. So, children are stressed during these times too. So we're letting our son take more breaks than he used to. We're letting him be on his iPad a little bit more than he used to. So those are just two ways that we've kind of modified our schedule to kind of work with this unique time.
Well, and especially if you're trying to work and you've got a meeting, that's going to have to be iPad time or some other activity time in order to be able to get through. We got a good comment. It's challenging to follow through with the schedule because you're so stressed out. And part of the scheduling is scheduling you time, scheduling something that, whether it's taking a walk or doing a sound meditation or getting a little bit of exercise so that you can decompress and get that schedule going. It also sometimes is helpful to get up a little bit earlier than your kids are going to get up, to get yourself organized for the day and mentally and emotionally ready for the day. So any other thoughts?
I know that the schedule really helped us because otherwise it was all over the place. So,
and we've got another comment that for parents with demanding jobs, your son takes your phone away. I was on a phone meeting earlier today, and one of our colleagues' kids kept dangling things in front of the screen while he was trying to have the meeting. I do think we all know that everyone's dealing with this, and there's some forgiveness for that kind of thing right now.
One of the things, looking at the chat, and please everyone continue to write into the chat for us. I see someone exercises early on, right? And that's great to get in the time before the kids wake. I know some of them wake up really early though, and that's hard. So I never did this before, but now I have my son do yoga with me. Now, please note, this was not an easy thing for him. He's got coordination challenges. He, in the beginning, would whine a lot, but he thought of it as exercise. But we found these dinosaur yoga videos, and so we're making like dinosaur poses. So thinking of some of you trying to get in me time, trying to relax, for those of you saying you're really stressed, I know it's not the same as doing a calm, quiet yoga or meditation, but if there are ways to get the kids into doing the things that we like, they can kind of do their version of it while you're doing your version. And sometimes that you get a little credit for giving them attention during that time too. I only comment on the positives of what my son is doing well. I give him positives when he's not whining. I don't criticize his moves. He doesn't have to do them exactly right.
We've had a couple of good comments with regard to one person said they're going to have their ABA therapist help them structure a routine. And I think that's really helpful to have someone else to brainstorm with so that you can come up with some new ideas you might not have thought of. Also, yes, virtual therapy or classes is challenging because kids aren't accustomed to it. So we probably have to up the reinforcement for participating, you know, and thinking about, is there a way to add tangible kinds of things that they can do while they're doing the visual. So my sister is doing a couple hours of grandmother Zoom meetings with her granddaughter to keep her busy while her parents are trying to work. So we bought her finger puppets. So while my sister's reading to her granddaughter, she can pick the characters on her fingers and have the puppets interact. Getting grandma to do Zoom meetings for you is an idea.
Yeah, everything you guys have said really resonates with me and my family as well. I think part of it has just been being gentle, not just with myself, but also with my children and my family members, to be flexible with schedules and even demands. So while we're now teaching at school, we don't hold the same rigor that the school classroom would, but we have slowly been able to increase our expectations of what they will do as far as assignments or even daily tasks at the house, while also relearning is a positive reinforcement for them, because that has changed somewhat now that we're living at home.
Mm-hmm. Great. Any other comments about structuring time or space, things that you're doing that are working for you?
I love the meditation in the morning. I read someone said they're doing meditation together with the youth, and that's awesome. You know, this is a silly one, Mimi, but for us, because since we can't go anywhere, we're trying to make the house like different locations. So we're making a conscious decision to get up and go into the dining room, you know, get up and go, you know, to the bedroom, to the porch. We're using different spaces for different activities, and it kind of makes your brain feel like you're getting a little movement. So in terms of structuring your environment.
I agree, like having a particular table be the game table. You know, this is where we play games together or something like that. That's great. Thanks, Mary. Yeah, I see your note about parents are just trying to keep things novel. And that's actually, I think, our next slide. So we could probably head there since you prompted us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but maybe you can structure those common areas to make being there a little more interesting. So thinking about how you can create a workspace for your kids that's more inviting is an idea as well. So thank you. Oh, that's funny. Her kid's closet is now her special place. And that's nice, you know, for kids who need to get away from. See, these are the kinds of suggestions. So please keep these things rolling. So the next thing we have is, you skipped twice, Kim, we need to go back one. Learning opportunities. So you were talking about how do we keep things novel? And some of the things that we brainstormed about is educational videos. It's surprising when you have the time, how much you can find that's out there. There's like great courses on different subjects that you can access. Lots of educational videos that if you take the time to surf the web, you find these really neat interactive kinds of things. Virtual field trips. A lot of the museums and aquariums are now providing virtual field trips. So you could actually go visit an aquarium or have your child go visit an aquarium. Outdoor exploration is a great thing to do right now if your weather's a little better, where it is in Florida. I used to do with my kids bug hunts and bird hunts, and we would bring a book with us and put stickers on everything that we saw, and that was a great way to do activities. Oh, good, Molly. So Molly mentioned that there's animal cameras at the zoo, so you can watch them. So those are neat. And then another thing we talked about is taking this as an opportunity to learn some new skills together. So baking, you know, doing some gardening together, just to break up the activities and things, you know, if you can do things that you love, like Kim said, and engage your kids in those things. So what are some of the learning opportunities that you've created or good ideas that you've come across?
And chime in here in the spirit of May the 4th, or May the Force be with you. And there are a number of, I guess, astronomical events that are going to be happening. One starts today, which is a meteor shower of our final supermoon of the year this month. There's a comet that will be passing by, or an asteroid, at the end of the month. So there's a number of things that we can find outdoors.
Mm-hmm. Great. And Angela, what kinds of new hobbies? And anybody else, any other learning opportunities? Please share with us if you've found anything, even if it's
I've been
like
teaching Kaylee
yoga.
So, and
what have you been cooking?
Well, things that she kind of picks. So it's not necessarily, we did one healthy thing for, we did broccoli salad for Earth Day, but it's things that we're picking together. So sometimes they're not so healthy, but kind of just helping her learn to, you know, use the different things, the different tools, and, you know, measurement and all that kind of stuff. So it's been going well. She told my mom today, my mom and I are having fun. So I said, what do we do? I was just teaching her something, but she thought that was fun. So hey, that's good.
That's great. A couple of people have mentioned meditation and that relearning the art of letter writing. Since you can't, I do too, because, you know, since we can't see people, we can definitely send letters.
And we can't see a lot of our elderly relatives. And so it really means a lot to them to get a letter from a grandchild or a relative.
Or a picture, you know. Knowing that they're doing it for someone in particular, I think makes it more important.
Renee's kids choose a new recipe every week, and then they write down the ingredients and they make it together.
Oh, that's a great idea. Anybody else?
I love that. You know, we talk in positive behavior supports a lot about leveraging strengths. So taking things that our young people already like to do, but helping them kind of take that next step or leveraging it into a new area. So my son has often called himself a director. He likes to make little movies and shows. And so this is giving us the time, like you all said, to help him make little videos that we can share with families and friends. So for Autism Awareness Month, our neighbors did something nice outside with the street, turning it blue. And so my son recorded a little thank you video, and then we were able to share that with everyone. And, you know, we recorded it a couple times so he could have a beginning, middle, and end. So it was taking something he was already interested in and then leveraging this concept of it's nice to say thank you. And that took us some time to do that. And even though it was sort of like tablet time, it felt like a more productive version than just kind of watching shows.
And that's a great idea. And someone mentioned cards for people who need cheering up. You know, even joining in one of the drive-by honkings of the first responders to say thank you. Kids might enjoy participating in that and helping them understand the importance of what they're doing for us right now is another activity. So good ideas.
I mentioned Kaylee has made cards and things for the people in the nursing homes, and then somebody just took them and dropped them off at the door and gave them to people that were in the nursing homes. Things, stickers, just things she could do on her own while I'm working.
Another good suggestion, girls have been taking turns running exercise time using different videos. So they decide what they're going to do, and they're the trainer, they're the personal trainer for that day. All right, so great ideas. Yeah, and then everybody can do the videos. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on because I want to make sure we have plenty of time to talk about issues we're not. If you're not seeing the comments, you should, if you click on the chat, you should be able to see. Oh, nice. You're taking this time to teach him to ride his bike. I think that's great, Deborah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it is time that we have to do some special things. And I think if we can reframe our thinking and say this is an opportunity, it might make it a little easier. Okay.
I've also, our family has kind of incorporated the scheduling and flexibility of that for learning opportunities. So we feel safer being able to get out and stretch our legs at night. So the kids sleep in and so they stay up longer, which means it's also giving me room to have my time for work, and then afterwards ending the night with the sun down, people in homes, and being able to get out and ride bikes, take a walk, look at the sky, rollerblade, whatever.
Those are great ideas. And you do see a lot more people out and about, you know, just getting some physical exercise with physical distancing. And that's great to see. You know, I see people having picnics in the park where we didn't see that before. And some kids in our neighborhood, we have a path that goes all the way around a pond, and they turned it into an exercise course with instructions and arrows. So it's got hopscotch and you run really fast, duck walk, and it has instructions all the way around the pond, so that there's it actually has the physical distancing mapped out.
Can I just interrupt? Neely is having some trouble seeing all the comments, and if you're typing in the chat where it says 2, it will say panelists or attendees. You want to send it to all panelists and attendees. It's the second menu choice down. Sometimes the chats are just going to the panelists, so we want everyone to see your wonderful ideas. So just make sure when you're sending your chat, you're sending it to all panelists and attendees.
Okay, great. And Jim just said anything that involves both hands is great for brain health. So puzzling, gardening. So that's great. So just keep the ideas rolling, even if they're not related to what we have on the slide. Keep them going, because we can all steal some of these ideas and use them. So the third category that I mentioned is just finding new forms of fun. And we are getting more creative on how to use Zoom. It's funny, you know, I always had girls' night out with my friends who are close by. But now that we're here, I'm having girls' night in, and I can include my sisters and friends from a distance. And so thinking about ways to use the media to connect people. In fact, my niece is having a birthday party, a virtual birthday party on Wednesday, and I'll be attending that. So, you know, thinking about ways that we can do that. And like I mentioned, my sister is working with her granddaughter and interacting with her, and she's really into it. And my sister's retired, so she doesn't have anything to do right now. You like the chalk art? Yeah. Oh, Netflix movie cut. Yep, great. Movie reviews. A new form of exercise as well. So thinking, you guys mentioned yoga as an option. We're going out a lot to play tennis, even though I'm terrible. And I downloaded the Just Dance app for me. And so I do Just Dance now. And it is so much fun because you do it with your phone and you do it on a screen and you dance and you get points. And so, you know, that's something that if my boys were younger, I would certainly include them, where we're all doing dancing together, and you could pick those videos. Yep, you have a glass of wine across with your neighbor. Yep, I'm seeing a lot of wine out and about these days.
And I love to karaoke on Zoom.
Oh, that would be.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I connected Katie with her friends on Zoom, so that's a good idea, but they got kind of lost as to what to do. So karaoke, I like that suggestion.
Yeah. And, you know, I think we need to have fun right now, you know, and we have space for fun. So another thing is playing games, board games, card games. You know, we've got a tabletop, what's it called? Table tennis, ping pong set. And we broke that out. We hadn't had it out in a while. So now we've got some people. So if you guys can share what's going on in the chat, I'm not keeping up with it.
Okay, so there's an app called Marco Polo where you can record a story for your grandkids and they will view it wherever they like.
Oh, nice.
That's Mary told us that. And Deborah says we do a lot of video chatting with grandparents. My little guy asks for them a lot and is used to visiting with them. So seeing them helps a lot. I'm sure it helps your parents too. And he'll sing his favorite song to them.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, getting the grandparents involved, I think, is a great idea. Or other relatives who are stuck who don't have a lot to do. Okay, and the final thing on this slide is just we do need time for ourselves, and just doing some self-care, I think, is important. We did too. We found the we bowling got that back out.
You know, Mimi, I wanted to comment about all the, different ways to use Zoom and how people need to find time. But I know it can be so hard when you have children that present some unique challenges and you're busy and overwhelmed and stressed out. Sometimes the strategies are hard to get to find the time to get to. And so I love that idea of if there is someone, a family, a friend, a parent of a child that your child used to play with even, if someone would consider taking some time with your child by Zoom, you can set them up on the Zoom with that person, with a grandparent, with an auntie and uncle, and then that might allow you to go into the kitchen or to go sit down somewhere and take a little rest. So it is a form of respite. Thank you for saying that, by Zoom. So I don't know if everyone would always think of getting to that, but for those of you who feel like you don't even have enough time to get your thoughts together on how to get organized, see if there is some help by Zoom from family and friends, and your child would enjoy that time with that person. They could play games, talk and chat, even be practicing some social skills, maybe getting reinforced for being nice to mommy and daddy. And then it would give you a little bit of that break too.
And I think to do these strategies effectively, you do need to create some space for yourself to reflect and plan. And if you don't have that time, you won't be able to come up with how are we going to spend our day tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So figuring out when that time is going to be, maybe before you have that glass of wine.
Oh, and Bob did a respite night with karaoke and a scavenger hunt over Zoom. Wow.
Neat.
That's neat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We've
So,
focused a lot on technology, but there are also, Barbara is saying backyard campouts have been a hit. I mentioned that I gave some old blocks. I don't know why I had been saving them so long. But I gave some of those to a friend, and the kids would have so much fun just playing with these blocks. So who knew?
I agree. Finding old toys and old books. So don't hesitate, to look through the house. If you've packed up some things, I find many children, regardless of their age, they kind of have some positive thoughts about old toys and books that they're around, and it might feel like brand new things for them.
My 20-year-old found an old book called Dangerous Book for Boys. And it's a list of projects that kids can do. So he's actually gone back to that at 20 years old, and we made paper water bombs together.
That's pretty cool.
So some of those crafty ideas, and you can get those off YouTube and come up with some neat things that you can build or construct together. Any other thoughts?
That's all really fun. We like to dance, but we all listen to different music. So we have created, I guess it's silent dance parties where we put our headphones on and we listen to our own music while we're all dancing together.
Oh, I love it.
Katie's sister has some baby chicks, so that sounds like a fun project. And someone else mentioned origami. You must be much more detail focused than we are in my house.
I love that stuff.
I don't know if you guys have noticed the news where everyone's adopting dogs these days. And that's probably why, because we need those friends right now. Science experiments.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, and planting new things and watching them grow. We have time for that now. Right. Yeah, when my kids were little, my sister bought us African water frog, the embryos, and we raised them, and they lived for 12 years. And we had the largest water frogs in the world.
Deborah was saying she is really struggling. She's getting a lot of instructions from school, but she's got a lot to do and it's very overwhelming. There's just not enough time in the day. And I think what you're feeling, Deborah, is very common. You know, when we come on these webinars and we hear about people doing cool science experiments and stuff like that, and we're like, I can barely get through the day without, you know, tying shoes and pouring juice 100 times a day. And I think that's really a very common feeling. I think we all feel like we're struggling to keep a schedule with or without kids. And so I think that's the feeling of being overwhelmed is a normal feeling.
Yeah. And I think that we need to give ourselves a break because these are not normal times. There's nothing normal about what we're going through right now. And so self-compassion is, reducing expectations. And, you know, there's some really great sound meditations. I don't know if you guys are into that, but I'm time for that kind of thing.
And I just want to mention,
sometimes, please, Dante.
I was going to say too to the mom that was saying that, you know, there's so much to do in the instruction and all that stuff, but that, you know, you can also, you have to do it on your own terms, but even sometimes just giving them a bath. I mean, I remember I used to just have spray shaving cream on the wall and let Kaylee write the alphabet, you know what I mean? Like, or so that she could, or I did it in the shower so I didn't have to worry about her and she could just play in there. But, you know, in talking and trying to help her with words around the dinner time table. So I kind of built in the practice sessions into my life because that's the only time I could do them. I don't know if that's helpful, but hopefully.
You know, I wonder too, is if there, you know, other parents who are struggling, if you guys could create some kind of co-op, you know, a virtual co-op where where you take turns working with kids. I don't know if that's doable, but I know I had a pretty strong network of parents that I hung out with when my kids were little and kind of do Zoom teaching stuff.
Well, and Chris is saying it's really hard to come to work and then come home and be expected to teach a full day of classes for your kids.
Absolutely. And I think that it's unreasonable for educators to expect you to teach a full day of classes right now.
Well, and
and I would note that you're probably going to see some shifts in expectations shortly. So it's great everyone's trying their best to keep up on the educational demands, but your quality of life comes first. Your mental and emotional well-being and that of your child comes first. Remember, safety first. And then, you know, the academics are important, but there may be a little bit more time to catch up there. And for those who are really expressing feeling very overwhelmed, you know, I just want to note part of positive behavior support is focusing on what is present and what is good and what we can reinforce and what the strengths are that are there. So we've mentioned meditation, or if you're a spiritual person, you might have a scripture, something that you can read or say to yourself every day, several times a day, to just kind of fill yourself back up, because we know that that bucket can start to feel pretty empty. And so, you know, perception goes a long way. So telling yourself that you have enough, you are enough, and some of those positive affirmations. If you don't have time to meditate and you don't have time to do some of these other things, don't let those moments to tell yourself something positive pass by. And whether that's a prayer or a quick meditation or a mantra, they can go a long way.
And someone made a comment about we have so much to focus on, and that's absolutely true. And so I would spend, you know, at night after the kids are in bed, what do I absolutely have to get accomplished tomorrow? And how can I fit the fun in between?
So we have a parent with a child who's got ADHD and doesn't understand or really stick with things for a long time. And there are not a lot of support groups in the area.
Well, what we know about kids with ADHD is that they need some structure and they need movement. So, you know, those are two critical elements in order to support their focus. So figuring out ways that you can provide that level of structure and movement, I think, is really important. And you're right, consistency for all kids. couple other good comments about walking and riding your bike and doing things for you, I think is important. And you pick and choose from the assignments and say, what can we get done today realistically, instead of beating yourself up if you don't get everything done, which I think is important. Any other thoughts or comments or questions?
How I'm just wondering, how are parents with kids, young children, getting their groceries? Does everybody go? Oh,
So as folks are thinking about that and chatting, one critical part of positive behavior sports also is to,
you're really late.
We've had some good comments about the shower tonight. And a lot of people are saying that your husband or one of you is going to the store. Most of the stores don't want multiple people going anyway. We had a suggestion regarding the child with ADHD regarding scaffolding, and scaffolding means kind of structuring. So creating an organizational tool in order to help kids learn, which is really helpful as well. So we need to remember the media shower, and people are either going really early in the morning, going late at night. You keep the chunking, which means organizing activities. Okay. And going to the grocery store is your break?
Yeah.
right, for some people, right? So, I was thinking how a critical part of positive behavior supports is behavioral expectations. Shante, can you show me, is my audio okay?
You're okay now.
Okay. And so just so many of the challenges that have come up, clarifying behavioral expectations can go a long way. So for students, youth with really high energy, clarifying like what kind of physical activity is allowable in the house, which parts of the room, how intense, what times of day, those kinds of things are acceptable. So sometimes we just kind of jump right to when the moment is happening. So just like we said, we need to take some time to organize. For those who mentioned earlier on, siblings fighting and the challenge of wearing a mask, just note for a lot of these challenges that look very different, clarifying the behavioral expectation and then breaking it down into reasonable steps and then having youth practice and reinforcing them. So the thing about the mask, if you wanted to maybe start having your daughter practice wearing it at home for just 1 minute and then take it off and give her a reward or a reinforcer. And then an hour later, practice wearing it for 2 minutes and then take it off and give a reward or reinforcer. So getting that slow exposure. And I know it might sound weird, but even with siblings fighting, kind of making some rules, bringing them both in with you about what are reasonable behavioral expectations, and maybe even finding ways they can acknowledge each other when they make good choices, and then you can reinforce the youth for getting along. Otherwise, sometimes kids only get attention when there is a problem, or they get more attention when there's a problem.
I talked to an interesting parent the other day who had like a little pom-pom jar. And every time anybody in the family did a kind thing, they put something in the pom-pom jar. And then they created a reinforcer based upon the number of pom-poms that were collected. And what we had talked about was get it for everybody in the family, because moms and dads do a lot of kind things that sometimes don't get acknowledged.
Yeah, I used to have a jar of special privileges, things written on cards. And when the kids had a really good day, they could pull something out and they would get a special privilege. So it made it kind of random and fun to see what you were going to get. But you're right, other than sugar, realizing that kids, what motivates kids is very different. Another thing is that I let my kids out of things. Like if we had chores to do and they were really good, I would say, all right, I'm going to do this chore for you today because you guys have been so good. So that's another strategy. But, being creative, and a lot of kids, young kids, respond to praise. And we just have to be attentive to how much attention are we paying to the tantrums and problem behavior versus how much attention we're paying when there's positive behavior. And we want to make sure that it's at least 3 positives to every 1 negative. Otherwise, the kids are going to start seeking our behavior through negative means. Yeah, and filling them up with attention. You know, if you've got a meeting and you know that your attention's really important for your kids, then give them a little extra attention right before you go into the meeting. One thing that I used when my kids were little was I had a box of phone toys. And anytime I would have to get on the phone, they would have access to those toys that were special for only when I needed to be on the phone. Well, that could be used for meetings as well. We're getting lots of comments. I need to turn it to our chat people.
Okay, so one person is wondering about creating structure. Does anyone recommend any particular chore board or how to create that structure? And I said I like pictures, like go to Google Images and start that. Katie says she has a PBAS manual at home and she will share it with anybody if they want to use it, which is very generous.
And we'll be sharing some resources with you as well as we wrap up. A first then board is a very simple thing. It really depends on the age and abilities of your child. So for little kids, you know, it needs to be more immediate first then. But if you've got older kids, you may need a calendar to show when you're going to go blueberry picking or whatever, for those kind of exciting things.
Or a phone with an alarm on it.
Mm-hmm. All right, should we move to resources? Okay, so we do have some resources for you guys. If you have not been to the Parenting Special Needs site or to the Home and Community Positive Behavior Support site, please go. We do, on the HCPBS site, we have an entire resource section for families with lots of articles and videos. And this video series that's up on the screen right now, these are free through YouTube. And those videos go over, you know, how to understand why your kid's behaving the way that they are and how to do proactive teaching and management strategies to support your kids. So that is available to you. We have a special issue that goes through the positive behavior support process. And this is all written in family-friendly terms and has lots and lots of actual video of families and homes. So that's a resource for you all. If you want to go to the next slide. And then here's a list of some of the resources that are available. And all of those are going into the chat. So please check us out because we've got lots of stuff related to supporting children's behavior.
Lots of information.
And you can also reach out to us. I don't know if you want to put in the our email for HCPBS.
I will put in our email.
Yeah, Renee, and if you want to shoot a note to that email, I can send you some specific articles that are on that topic. I would be happy to do that.
You know, the articles are great, Mimi, and I have to give a second shout out to the videos. Watching another parent use positive behavior supports in those videos, and they're very, very brief. So it can take just a couple minutes to watch some of them. It's really a great model.
Yep, and it helps you understand too. Yeah, so I think it's very great.
And Angela, thank you for saying that. I do think it helps to know that others are overwhelmed too, when you're not alone in this process. All right, well, we really appreciate you joining us tonight. This has been a great discussion. We will be doing more of these family chats, so look out for the advertising for them.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have the videos up so we can see Mimi and the other panelists. So next time, but thank you all for attending. We really appreciate it. And thanks for all the great comments. And thank you for everybody that that was not seen on the chat. Mimi and Molly and Flip, and thank you all. It was wonderful.
All right. So good night, everybody.
Thanks for having us. Good night.